1. All right.
What's
Welcome
up,
back
people?
to the Military Retirement Podcast. John, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Life is good, man. Life is good. Woke up this morning, so can't ask for anything else better.
Absolutely.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm actually
You-
a little bit crispy today. A little
Go
bit
ahead.
crispy.
No, go ahead. You're crispy. I'm curious about this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, we went to the beach yesterday and spent just like 2 hours there. Little tucked away little beach that not a lot of people go to. I've been there a bunch of times and it's never been like a big crowd of people. Like people just don't know it exists, I think. And within 2 hours got really lobster really fast.
It tends to happen. You put on sunscreen, right?
Nah, I don't do sunscreen.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
against my
it's that Persian in you. That Persian in you, right? You don't need it. You don't need it. Oh man. So hey, shout out to Navy Cop with us every week. Good to see you again, brother. Good morning from rainy and cold Washington. Oh. I don't know what that feels like, man. I'm here in San Diego. It's not too bad today. It's been cold, but cold is like, I don't know, 70. So yeah, it's something like that. Let me see here, man. I had a couple things open here that I wanted to share. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah. Let's see if I can find that. What was that Supreme Court ruling? Gosh.
And while you're pulling that up, just for everybody listening, watching, paying attention, if you're on the live stream, if you're not on the live stream, if you got questions, we're on the live stream and you're here with us, feel free to drop those questions in the chat, whatever they happen to be, whether it happen to be related to the guest we're speaking of or something specifically about your transition out of the military or retirement. Feel free to drop those in the chat. We try to answer those throughout the course of the show. If you're watching or listening after the fact, of course, there's definitely ways you can drop in comments. And we read all of those comments and we respond to all those comments by ourselves with our own 2 little thumbs. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm having some trouble finding this thing, but whatever. It'll come to me. Aside from that, dude, it's been an awesome week. Just been taking time off, hanging out with the family, just connecting with other veterans, connecting with other organizations. Just connected with a guy yesterday who does some awesome stuff. I'm not going to release the information yet because I want a dedicated show having this guy on, but he does some awesome stuff for the military, just trying to get his business off and running. So he reached out to me yesterday and asked about it. I told him, hey, look, we'll talk a little bit about it next time, but potential sponsor, we'll see about that.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm working on some stuff in the background with Clay and the CivDiv and those guys. I'm not going to release all the information right as of yet, more to come, but I'm going to start on that next leg of working on my VA disability stuff. And that's going to be kind of my process and my proving ground to kind of track that and bring it to light, and also to maybe help out some folks out there who've got maybe a claim, got 0%, got 10%, 50%, whatever, and you're trying to get a little bit further in that process. I mean, I know we talk about it. It's one of the topics that we discuss all the time. But I kind of want to go through that process with myself, with Clay and his team, and see how that works out. And then maybe bring him on afterwards for round 2 and just kind of talk through that and discuss that and really, go through the process of what it takes to get to that next step, to get to the next level, and hopefully get some increases in my disability as well. So.
Heck yeah, man. So I did have here, I'm going to share this here. I don't know if it comes up right, but it was actually on the CivDiv's comments. He put up that he was like graduating, and I was like, hey, good stuff. Make sure you use those benefits, specifically the VR&E stuff, because it does give you potential for a lot more schooling if they approve you for the schooling part. As we know, the VR&E process is not just for schooling. It is for finding your next mission, which could be anything from potentially getting your bachelor's or master's degree, or like something technical like electrician or something of that sort. This specific comment was, he says, I just submitted my application for VR&E a month ago, and I'm waiting to be scheduled an appointment with VRC. I never had a degree, and I got out almost a year ago, and I plan to start off my academic journey at a community college and then transfer to a 4-year state university. I have already applied to the college and took an ESL placement. I think that's English as a second language placement exam.
Correct.
Remedial English class. I plan to use FAFSA until I can get approved for VR&E. Wish me best of luck. If you have any advice or tips on getting approved for VR&E or succeeding in academics, it would mean a lot to me. And I did mention to the guy, hey, look, I'm going to respond to this during the show here. Big thing to understand with VR&E is it's not just an education program, right? It's made for to find your next career, your next, to get you into a job that you would like, that won't hinder you, that won't aggravate your medical conditions or whatever they may be. So a lot of folks look at VR&E as just an education thing. It's a potential, and yes, it's a huge potential. It's a huge thing because you do get not just your schooling paid for, but you also get military housing allowance, etc. I would say be upfront with your VRC. Let them know what you really want to do, right? If your heart is in being an electrician, hey, let them know, and because they're going to make you do the research for it. I got approved for a master's program only because I think that would benefit me based on what I have going on, based on where I want to be in life. And I had to provide all the information to the VRC. How would this benefit me? Get me all the information, get me 3 different job prospects that are currently out there that you can jump into. So they're going to make you do some work, but you just be upfront with them because they are going to check on you. I have not started yet. I know, John, you've started your VR&E journey. I've not started yet. I'm still in like the infancy stages of it, where I'm getting the school approved and all that. But that's what I gather is they're going to ask you a lot of questions. You have to check in with them every semester. You got to check in with the grades and all that good stuff. I don't know what it's like if you went another route, like a pilot route, electrician, plumber, welder, or whatever. So if anybody out there has gone these other routes using VR&E, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and you're right. It does take a little bit of time. It's definitely a process. It's not like, okay, you sign up and then they approve you and then you get on board and then you do what you want to do. Like, you've got to go through and do some research. You've got to do some footwork and put together a lot of paperwork and processes and stuff for them so that they can actually go through and say, okay, this is what's best, what we think is best for you based on what you've given us. And again, being honest with them about what you want to do is going to help them make a better decision to push you down the path that you want to go down. As far as from a school perspective, as far as checking in, and I think even if I wasn't going to school, even if I was just doing a trade or something like that, like, you set up between yourself and your counselor, you set up the times and you tell them what's best for you. If you want to meet with them once a month on a phone call, if you want to meet with them every 2 months, like you set down and kind of set the schedule, and just understand that like my counselor right now, he was doing a certain workload and now his workload's kind of like tripled. So he's got a whole lot more people that he's doing this with. And hopefully it's because of us. Hopefully, at least in part, it's because of us and pushing people down that path and trying to get some of that education benefit for people. The work placement benefit and possible education benefit. But yeah, you set the pace. You discuss with your counselor. The last conversation I had with my counselor, we talked about the school stuff a little bit and how everything's going, how's my health and everything going. I talked about some medical appointments that I had. And then also we just dove right into like my VA stuff for my rating and getting it increased, and some of the things that got denied. And he went and pulled up my records and went through all of it with me. So he took the extra time to do that. So it's really just having somebody there that you can converse with along the path and ask them for help if you need help with something, ask them for advice if you need advice on anything, if you're trying to get something done, if something gets in the way and becomes a roadblock, ask them how they can help you to move that roadblock out of the way so you can be successful and get to that career path that you're trying to get to.
Absolutely, man. Very well said. So with that, I think we can bring on our next guest, man, because we're going to get into we're going to geek out and nerd out about some podcasting stuff, YouTube stuff, and how to, I guess if you are a veteran or if you're really anybody listening, if you wanted to start your own podcast and tell your own story, our next guest would be able to help you out and give you some great information on that. So without further ado, bringing onto the stage, Travis Johnson. Travis, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How you doing, Vic?
I'm doing as well as I can be. So it says Travis Johnson, paradedeck.com. Can you just give us some background on who Travis Johnson is and how you're connected to Parade Deck?
Oh, good Lord. How much time do we have?
We got all the time you need. All day.
Unlimited. StreamYard, I think, is unlimited right here.
Yep. StreamYard Unlimited. Here we go with the marathon episode. Surprise. You didn't know we were doing it today. So I'm a 22-year Navy guy. I did 11 years enlisted, 11 commissioned. I worked on ejection seats early in my career. I was an aircraft mechanic, transferred to a bigger airplane, using my smarts, and ended up on an airplane too big to go to the ship, right? I got picked up for a commissioning program, went to University of Oklahoma, and then went to flight school and got my wings and flew as a naval flight officer for a few years, headed out to Bahrain. I suppose I should point to all the stuff in my background that helps me tell the story, right?
Yeah, I see it there.
Went up to Bahrain for a year. Worked for NavCent, was the Fleet Command Center director on the watch floor, in a very busy place on Earth, especially right now with Trump bombing Iran over the last couple of days here. So that's exciting. It's exciting for all my friends out there. Started a podcast when I was deployed. Was the Nonprofit Architect podcast. Jumped to number 4 in the U.S. within 3 months of launching, and the podcast career just kind of went crazy from there. Ended up retiring as a O3E in February of 22, 3 years ago, and have a really wild retirement story, which I'm sure we're going to get into here. But I used all my podcast info. I authored 10 books, 6 of which are dedicated to podcasting. I have a podcast course available at 2 universities. No kidding. You can take my course and get college credit for it, which is pretty cool. Ended up co-founding the Veteran Podcast Awards, which we got behind me, and registration is actually open for them right now. I know you guys are registered. Good luck to you both.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Hopefully be calling your names October 5th. Would be a lot of fun to have you guys back on there. Yeah, absolutely. And really, I got in a car wreck last year, ended up in the hospital for about a week, and I hadn't been podcasting, and I had moved the Veteran Podcast Awards over to Parade Deck and the Veteran Podcast Network, which was 75 shows, over to Parade Deck. And then they ended up bringing me on this year as their podcast director. So I'm helping podcasters do podcasting better, help really build that community, help them do it better. A lot of one-on-ones right now, soon to be a mastermind where we have a whole bunch of podcasters in a room. We just talk about how to do podcasting better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would love to be in that room. That's great. Ideas are always flowing, right?
Ideas are always flowing. Absolutely. Make sure you guys get an invite to the old Parade Deck Mastermind.
Oh, hell yeah, man. We'll be there. So I'm curious about this retirement story now. You open that door. I really want to know now. I'm intrigued.
Well, you should be. So it was probably October of 21. We found out my wife needed to have brain surgery. Mm-hmm. She's fine now. She's had the surgery, but we signed up to do that in January before I retired in February. And we got out there. We're in Oklahoma City. Did most of my time at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma. I know, weird for a Navy guy, but what are you going to do? It turns out there was no one to do the surgery in Oklahoma. So we had to get a referral. We went out to Johns Hopkins out in Baltimore. And you guys remember, who's that guy? Dr. Ben Carson ran for president a couple of years ago.
I do.
He was the first guy to successfully separate conjoined twins. Well, his office, he was the head of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins. And when we went out there, his replacement was the guy that actually did my wife's brain surgery. for a Chiari malformation. But we flew out there in January, and my wife tested positive for COVID because all of that stuff was still going on. And they canceled the surgery. They said, we can't do it. You've tested positive for COVID. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of percentage I have to pay after I retire for brain surgery, but I don't want to pay, any kind of percentage. And we got rescheduled to do it in February. I had been on SkillBridge at this point, and we flew out and we got the surgery done, February 10th. And my last official day was March 1st. But we fast forward to, getting back from brain surgery. My daughter is dating an Army guy down at Fort Sill in Lawton, which is just 2 hours from Oklahoma City. And he was going through school there. And she's like, hey, Dad, Jack needs to talk to you. I'm like, oh, geez, what could this possibly be about? He's about to finish school up in Army. I wonder what this conversation is going to be. And she's like, Dad, he asked me for her hand in marriage, which is a very respectful thing to do. I don't know if it's required in today's day and age, but very respectful. So fast forward to the week I retire. I asked my SkillBridge partner, I was like, hey, I should be getting a job offer from you all. What am I looking for? So the week of retirement, I had my last day, official day was like February 28th, wake up March 1st, retired, whatever that means. I didn't have a ceremony because of, brain surgery got moved. Wake up, get a DD-214 and a secure email, and get an email from my SkillBridge partner. It's like, hey, we can offer you $7.50 an hour for 20 hours a week.
Yeah, wait, $7.50 an hour?
Minimum wage part-time is what they could offer me. And I'm like, hey, do you want to tell me what's going on here? I kind of feel like I have a little bit more skills than minimum wage. Yeah. And he's like, I can't really tell you what's going on. I was like, well, you're going to need to tell me something. And he's like, we're going through the acquisition of another company, and we won't really know anything till like March 15th. And we're like, okay. So put that on hold. Wednesday hits. Oh, by the way, the wedding, they're like, we want to get married like in 6 days.
Of course, right? Of course, to make matters even better.
Yeah. So my wife's recovering from brain surgery. My daughter says she wants to have him married. She's like, it's our only daughter. It's our oldest kid, our only daughter. And my wife's recovering from brain surgery, so she's on medication, right? Post-op brain surgery, it's a big deal. And so she's freaking out, like, I'm not going to get to have like a wedding for my only daughter. Like, can we at least do it in the backyard? Can we put something together? And meanwhile, like, she asked like the last week of February, right? So we're trying to put this thing together. Wednesday happens. My wife's grandmother turns 92. Thursday, we get word that she dies. Friday is when my course gets approved at Forbes Business School, which was amazing. Saturday morning, my daughter's wedding in our backyard, and Saturday evening is my retirement party. Just a week of just complete chaos. I'm the only quote unquote sane person. My son's too young. He's like 13 or 14, something like that. He is, he's a good kid, but like, he's not in the mix, right? My daughter's worried about the wedding stuff. My wife's recovering from brain surgery. I just found out that I don't really have a job, even though that was all set up. So I've got all this chaos in my life. We drive to Minnesota for the retirement in March. Snow on the ground. It's like 4 feet of snow up there, no big deal. And we get up there, and my wife's like, I want to stay and help Grandpa with the farmhouse. And I'm like, you want to do what? She's like, yeah, he needs help going through Grandma's stuff. And she's post-op brain surgery, right? She's high as a kite. She's not supposed to be doing things, right? They homesteaded this farm back in 1860, and then were awarded the land in 1865. You homestead, you said, I'm going to be a good steward of this land, and they actually gave you the deed 1865. So it's been continually occupied for like over 100 years at this point. Well, I don't know what the math is off the top of my head. I'm not going to start doing math in public for anybody.
No, never.
You got 100 plus years. The family's been in this place. They went through the Great Depression, all of that stuff, and everybody, is a hoarder from that era. So the farm is just full of stuff, and the house is no exception, right? And so my daughter's married and out of the house. I've got no job. I've got my wife wanting to stay and help. I've got a son who's got to go back and finish out school. And I'm like, you know what? We'll just leave you up here. And so I'm driving back to Oklahoma, like losing my mind. I look at the calendar and I'm like, oh, I can call and figure out if that acquisition went through, right? So I called up the guy as retired master chief and I was like, so what's the deal? He's like, look, the acquisition fell through. I can't give you $10, let alone $10 an hour.
That's rough. So what did you end up doing? Of course, you didn't take that job. So
I did not take that job.
No.
I got back to the house. Fortunately, from like that year in Bahrain, we put $50,000 in the bank from that year in Bahrain.
Nice.
I got back to the house. I had been doing podcasting stuff. I got back to the house and looked at this enormous heap of mail, and there was just giant manila envelope. And I opened it up, and it said I had 90% from the VA, and my first payment was going to be April 1st. And I just had a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah,
right.
That helps.
There's some kind of money coming in. I've got money in the bank, but my whole world's on fire. Got paid April 1st at 90%, and then got my first military retirement paycheck on May 1st. So was able to breathe. Ended up going and retrieving my wife. A month later. It's like 900 miles up there. Went ahead and retrieved her, and started doing things. I had one book on podcasting, and I went that summer and I wrote 5 more books in 5 weeks to try to help generate some income. I opened up a business doing podcast. I can't think of words right now, Vic. Are words required to continue this interview?
Maybe, no, it's all good. Yeah.
Just start doing some sign language, right? Open a podcast. A podcast production agency doing the back end work for other people. So now we had books available. We had courses. I was doing mentoring and coaching, and then we were doing actual production work for podcasters, which eventually led to now we also help people get booked on shows, which is a lot of fun. Helping people find shows that they can be on to promote their business and all that stuff. But it was pretty hairy there for a while.
Yeah, I'd say. Wow.
Yeah.
So those.
I actually want to ask.
Go ahead,
yeah.
John. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about the week prior to the week of retirement versus the week post retirement, which was that spring break week for you. Of course, it was nice and fun, and everybody was partying.
Yeah.
You said you had money put in the bank, and I don't want to dig into your personal finances or anything, but I'm curious to know if you, before that week, because of course that week, I guess, and maybe even that week before when the surgery was going on, you probably had to foot a lot of bills. Before all of that happened, were you in a financial place where you could say you were pretty much debt free at that time, or you still were carrying a lot of debt? And then after that, and after starting to pull retirement and VA benefits, did that kind of offset everything?
Yeah, so we got on the Dave Ramsey plan years ago, more than 15 years ago, and had gotten everything debt free minus the house. We were working on paying off the house.
Nice.
That time in Bahrain, the money was ridiculous. Being an O3E over 20 years in Bahrain, I was making $15,000 a month tax free, which is just insane money. I grew up in trailer parks and foster homes. Like that kind of money doesn't exist. It's not real, is it?
Right.
You see Scrooge McDuck swimming in a money bin, and you're like, yeah, that doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. And making $15,000 a month, we were able to. We had purchased 2 cars to be able to have them paid off by the time I was retired. So those got paid off. We replaced the furnace and the air conditioner in the house. We poured some concrete. We did a ton of stuff. Able to fly the family out for Christmas and New Year's. We did Christmas in Bahrain, New Year's in Dubai, which is highly recommended. That was really, really cool. And we were able to do all of that and still put away $50,000. So we were in a place, even before those paychecks came in, we were in a really good place. Going over to Bahrain wasn't cheap. I think we dropped like $14,000 on that trip, which is insane amount of money for a trip like that. Yeah, one paycheck. We'll just put one paycheck towards this. So yeah, we were able to put that away. We also live in Oklahoma City, which is one of the cheapest cities in the country. my mortgage at the time was like $1,100 a month for 2,000, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet, elementary school in the neighborhood, really nice place. Like, that's dirt cheap. I know Vic's living in San Diego, and he's like drooling at the mouth, right? He's drooling, he's like, $1,100 a month. What could I do with my life if I only had to pay $1,100 a month?
It's like the OHA fees.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when I had my place out in North Carolina, it was about that much. It was a new 3-story home. This was in Jacksonville, North Carolina, right outside Camp Lejeune, and the mortgage was like $900 a month. It was insane. But then you come over here, and I'm like, well, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different,
A little bit. It's insanely different.
Lucky we got in when we got in, because now it's like what my neighbor paid for his house. I would not even look at a place out here.
Well, it's insane. Like when I was choosing orders and I ended up going to Bahrain, they had offered me an Admiral's Aide position in San Diego. And for the Navy, that's like a dream job. Like, go chill in San Diego. You work for the Admiral. No one can really mess with you. Right. And I'm like, I can't do it. And he's like, why? I was like, that is a dream job for somebody, but I'm just way too cheap to go live in San Diego. I grew up in Minnesota. And lived most of my naval career in Oklahoma City. I did 20 years in Oklahoma, other than the 2 years in California, the 1 year at flight school, and the 1 year in Bahrain. I was in Oklahoma my whole career, and I'm like, I'm just way too cheap. I was like, I'm looking at retirement. They offered me Korea. I was like, oh, Korea, that's not bad. Is it tax exempt? And they're like, no. I was like, I'm looking at Bahrain. Tell me Bahrain. Tell me more. Right? Like, what can I do? What can I do at Bahrain? Tax exempt, hazard duty pay, OHA, all the good stuff. Family stayed in the States, so I had OHA and BAH, and
nice.
I was able to travel over there. I went to Egypt for a wedding, which was really cool. Went to Dubai twice. Cool. Went to Vienna. Went to Budapest. Like, really had a good time. And that was like 2019, and then 2020, Trump killed the Iranian general Soleimani while I was over in Dubai. And so when I landed back there, all of a sudden I worked 100-hour work weeks, which was a lot of fun. And as soon as that kind of let up, COVID happened while I was still over there. So, and I was doing, my podcast the whole time.
So what was your podcast about?
It was a nonprofit architect podcast. I had served on a couple of boards here in the U.S. in the Oklahoma City area. So on the board of the Shine Foundation, and as the vice president of Books by Vets, which is no longer in operation. But I got over there, and I knew that if I didn't do something that was going to be productive, that I was going to get myself in trouble. I know me. And I'm kind of an instigator. I like to find myself in situations. I know you guys aren't that kind of person, but I know that I would find myself in some kind of mischief, and was convinced to start a show. And I knew a lot of stuff about nonprofits, but I didn't know everything. And I went and looked at, this is key for people looking into a show. I went and looked at the nonprofit space, and I looked at the top 25 or top 50 shows, and I listened to a couple of them. And I found out that there was only really two types of shows. One was an industry show where industry professionals kind of BS'd with each other for 30 minutes to an hour. And there was maybe like 2 minutes of value in the whole interview. And then the other type of show was like a nonprofit highlight show. You're like, hey, check out this nonprofit. Here's their founder. Ain't they great? And that was it. Those were the only two types of shows in the top 25. And it really bothered me because I didn't feel like, hey, Enrique, nice to see you. I didn't feel like any of the shows really provided any value. So I brought on guests that were going to teach how to do nonprofit work better. People that were in the nonprofit industry, people that were in business, people that were in marketing, branding, you name it, to help build better nonprofits. And was checking my stats, and I had barely done anything yet. And found out that I was ranked number 4 in Apple Podcasts in the US for nonprofit shows, which was just wild to me, wild, especially because I had no idea what I was doing yet.
Right. I mean, well, you learn as you go, right? As is with most anything. So we had a question here from the audience, from Navy Cop here. So he's excited. He joins us every week, right? He's trying to figure out how to start a podcast / vlog as a single host with anxiety. And, it's easier for for John and I to do this, right? Because we kind of feed off each other's energy. We have questions and stuff like that. And I understand what Navy Cop is talking about, because there's been times where I've just started a YouTube live, and I'm sitting there. I remember my first time doing it. I'm sitting there. I didn't know what the hell to talk about. And I had topics here on my notepad, but you don't have somebody else to kind of bounce off of. And a lot of these podcasts that I like listening to, you get different perspectives. You get, the banter between the folks. So I'm curious. I mean, it sounded like this nonprofit architect was a solo mission. Is that right?
Well, it was an interview show, right? So I didn't have to have any of the answers. I just had to ask questions, right? I didn't have to know anything. I didn't have any responsibility to have a clue of what was going on, right? So it allowed me to be really curious and ask the questions. Plus, I did pre-interviews with these guys. I said, tell me what you're going to teach today. And I went through and they walked me through their whole process, and I took notes, right? I had a whole page full of notes. And then when I did the interview, I asked them questions to walk them through the framework that they already told me all the answers to. And that made it really easy to kind of get to the point, to ensure that I was delivering what I said I was going to deliver to my audience. There's really only a couple kind of shows out there. There is the solo show where you're just talking to yourself. My wife does that in the kitchen all the time, right? Does that in the kitchen all the time. There's an interview show, which is my favorite, because I don't have to, I just have to be curious. I don't have to know any of the answers. And then there's a co-hosted show, which you guys do. Sometimes you do it with just each other, and sometimes you have a guest, right? And then the only really other kind of show out there is a panel show where you're asking a question and you're moderating answers between all of the guests that are on. I'm a huge fan of the interview show for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have to know anything. I like to know stuff because it makes, I feel better. I feel more confident going into it. But then you also have someone that's going to help promote your show, right? They have access to you and your audience, and you have access to them and their audience. So every single interview you do, you're adding chunks of people that are potential listeners to your show. Anywhere from 50 to 50,000 or more people are going to have access to the show based on who your guest is, right? And that's how you're ended up growing your show. You grow your show in that way, and then you also grow your audience by being a guest on other shows, like I'm doing here today. Does that even answer the question? I have no idea.
I think so. I mean, it's tough to do the solo one, I think, because you are. I mean, like you mentioned, you're talking to yourself. I mean, I got a camera here. I'm looking at the screen here, but it's kind of hard because you got to keep, where do I look? What do I do with my hands? Everything at one time. I'm talking like this the whole time, wondering where the hell my hands are. But no, I completely agree, man. So I think I like this way the best, right? Where you have a co-host. I just to kind of answer Navy Cop's question, I had a lot of anxiety when it came to this because I didn't know how it was going to be received. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get my message across. I didn't know if people were going to listen. Maybe I get no views, but you got to start somewhere. And I think one of the ways is getting, connecting with folks, getting the experts on. And I love the way you did it too, because it was like you don't have to know much. You just ask the questions, and you're just kind of guiding the conversation. I think that's the best way, man, because I'm naturally curious, same as you are, and John as well, asking a lot of great questions. You just come off as curious, just come off as genuinely curious. And you really want to know what the topic is about.
The second big thing is it has to do with consistency, and it has a great effect. If you're going to do a show, they're Navy Cop, you want to dedicate at the very least, like if you can't dedicate at least 6 months to doing one show a week, that's 25, 26 episodes, right? If you can't do that, don't start. What happens is when you start doing shows, you're gonna, maybe not you, but I sucked. I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was definitely uncomfortable. I was definitely anxious hitting record or doing a whole episode and realizing you didn't hit record. Yeah, right.
Done that
but
before.
but your first 10, you're just scrambling. You have no idea what's going on. You get hit to 15 and you kind of start to feel okay. But when you get to 20 and 25, it starts to get fun. You know what you're doing. You know what your vibe is. You understand your own personality, how you are. Like, I'm very engaged and I like to cut jokes and I like to have fun. Some people are much more serious for whatever reason. They call it professional. I don't know. I don't, that's not my style. But you really start to understand who you are as a podcaster. You understand what you're trying to get out of your guests. You understand the kind of value that you want to bring to your audience. But if you can't dedicate yourself to that first 25, you're just hurting yourself. There's a thing in the industry called pod fade. And it's like 1, 4, 7, 9, 11, 14, 17, and 21 episodes. At all of those benchmarks, people are most likely to stop doing a show. And if we look at the active numbers today, right now, there's something like 5.2 or 5.3 million podcasts that exist. But there's only about 186,000 that are considered active. And that is, have they done an interview, posted an interview within the last 90 days, and have they published more than 10 episodes? And there's only about 186,000. So if you're looking to do a show, the competition is much, much lower than we think it is. You talk about Facebook having 3 billion profiles, right? You're not competing against 3 billion shows. You talk about YouTube having billions of YouTube channels. You're not competing against that. You're not competing against the 5.2 million podcasters that exist. You're competing against less than 200,000 people. And that makes it much, much easier to get into, to have an impact and have a really good show.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think a big thing too is, and I'm big on looking at like the YouTube analytics, only because we have this show, but it's also on a podcast, and I have another YouTube channel, which is the Green Logbook, and I'm constantly looking at the analytics. Like, when's the best time to post? When are all of my listeners, or the majority of my listeners, online, so they can see? So I maybe look at it too much, and it gives me a little bit of anxiety. Like, I got to post here, I got to post this time. But I'm a big proponent of that. Like, just checking out the analytics, seeing when your folks are going to be online. And this is specifically for like the YouTube side, right? I'm not sure if Spotify or anything like that, or Apple, has analytics like YouTube. Yeah. I'm sure that there's a way to get that when your listeners
they all do
listening.
They all do.
Okay. So,
I did want to make a comment. I see Navy Cop says the old voice for radio, face for print. Yeah, face for and I have the voice for print as well, right? You don't have to have any of those things when you get started, right? Your voice is whatever your voice is. I know people that have 3 million downloads that have, in my opinion, a terrible voice. Like, I hate listening to them, just them as a person. I love them to death. I love what they're doing, but like, I can't listen to them talk at me for an hour because I hate their voice. They've got 3 million downloads. That's other people that love what they're doing, right? There is a crowd, there is an audience for everything that you want to do. I did my show. I started off audio only. And it wasn't till like episode 15, people are like, we want to watch you in video. I hate video. I am a video hater. I'm one of the few people, like, I could give a shit about video, right? Because I never have my volume on. I'll watch video, but if they don't have captions, I'm automatically swiping because I don't have the audio on. I hate video. And so they're like, no, you have to do video. And then I hated myself on camera. So, like, I no kidding, like, took a sticky note and put it over my face on the screen so I couldn't see myself, and I was only looking at the guest, right?
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? That's one way.
And then it was some time later, I was doing nonprofit stuff, and I had a deaf nonprofit reach out to me asking me questions, and without, I was in a hurry, without thinking about it, I just sent them like the video and audio link. Well, it really doesn't help them. And I went out and I got the full transcript, and I sent it to them, and then I published it as the blog on my website. And then I watched my web traffic triple overnight. Really? A 40-minute conversation is a 10,000 word blog post. And I started posting the transcript for every single episode that I did. And I watched my numbers on my website just take off. You don't have to have anything crazy to start. Zoom, a camera for under $100, a microphone for $65, or just doing it on your phone, you can do to get started. Don't let lack of whatever experience, do it scared. I do everything great that I've ever done. I did it scared.
You know what gets me, Travis? It's when I'm out, right? I have one of these guys. I have another DJI thing, and I'm out recording. I might be at the beach. I might be somewhere walking around, and then I'll be talking about something, and then there's folks that are like walking by, and I'll just like shut it off. I'm like, I don't want people to hear me talk about what the hell I'm going to talk about. You know, it might be my own thing. I don't know, but I can't get as animated because they're like, who the hell is this 6-foot fucking monster over here talking and being all animated, throwing his hands up? And I mean, well, that's me, right? And I like to get animated when I talk about stuff, but I kind of shut down a little bit when there's people around, and I'm trying to get past that, right? Any tips on that? Maybe it's like not giving a F or what? What do you think?
Do it more. Okay. Do it 5 times a day. Because eventually you're not going to care what people do. There's a guy, Tim Ferriss, he talks about doing uncomfortable things. To get him over that same feeling, he laid down on the ground, on the floor in public. At a restaurant, he got down on the ground, laid down, counted the 10, stood back up, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, just wanted to lay down for a second. They didn't talk about it as friends and razz him for 3 weeks.
Right.
Like, I can't believe you did that. Well, what are you doing? It was uncomfortable for him, so he did it until it was comfortable. Like, people tell me that I'm really well spoken, that I maintain eye contact, and I'm very confident. It wasn't always that way. It was early in my Navy career, maybe around year 3 or 4 in the military. Someone talked to me about it, and he's like, ask me a question, any question. I asked him some strange question. He responded in a very calm, clear, concise answer, very confident, and all this stuff. And I was like, "Is this true?" And he's like, "I have no idea if any of the things that I said is true, but I did it, and I said it confidently." He's like, "I am confident, and I onboarded this, and I am confident that I know how to pronounce the words that I'm going to use. I know how to pronounce these words. I know exactly how I'm going to say them. That doesn't mean I have to be confident in the concept that I'm talking about. That doesn't have to mean that I know what I am or am not talking about. But more often than not, it puts me in a position that people are like, this guy really knows what he's doing. I don't always know what I'm doing, but because I speak confidently, they believe that."
You know what? I am going to take on that challenge, and not that you pose the challenge or anything, but I'm going to take that as a challenge upon myself and go in a crowd or something and just start filming my stuff. And that's going to be one of the next videos, right? Because anything else I'm very confident in, but for some reason it's the filming part, because it does seem like a very personal thing that I do. Filming myself and all that, talking about, whatever veteran issues, this and that. But yeah, it's anything else I'm very confident in, except for that one thing. And I'm wondering what the hell is going on. So I like that. Enrique,
if you don't like it,
I like it.
If you don't like it, you can always delete it, or you can just not post it.
Yeah.
And then when you are comfortable 6 months from now, if you've kept those clips, you can use them to show just how awkward and uncomfortable you were. People love that stuff. Like post a really confident video of you doing it outside, and then have a blooper reel at the end where you're stumbling over yourself when you walk into something, when you look sideways at a person, you're like, I'm going to shut it off, and you shut it off. Like, use that stuff to show that you're, I don't know, human.
Dude, and it's strange because my wife hates going out with me sometimes, because I'm the type of guy who stands up and starts singing happy birthday to her in the middle of a restaurant. And she's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?
You're never going to see those people again. What the heck do you care?"
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a mindset thing.
And then you're doing out in public and you're being all crazy, and someone's like, "Vic," and you're like, "Shit."
Vic, is that you? Didn't we just have a job interview yesterday? Like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at if you look at the very, very first interview that ever happened on this conglomeration of what's now become the Military Retirement Podcast, that was literally me using the camera that's on my laptop, using a pair of plugged in like Apple headphones with the little mic thing on the side with the cords dangling down, with no lighting, with none of that stuff. And it was I think it was really, that is what I kind of leaned on, was like, I don't really give a damn if it's perfect, if it's edited perfect, if it's cut perfect, if the audio is perfect. Like, I'm just trying to get the interviews done and get the information so that I can put it out to people and let it grow. I think at some point I switched over to like a USB mic that comes with like a Rock Band game for like PlayStation, and like put a sock over it and taped it up with black tape and had that on a microphone stand. Like, that was my microphone for a while as well. So yeah, I think it's really just not just podcasting, but anything in life. It's like, just go do it, and do it like somebody had mentioned, do it ugly, and let it progress on its own and happen on its own. Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that you can, no one cares that you're new. Like, everyone, like, oh, he's trying something new. The only people that'll hate on you for that are people that are just not worth your time. Right.
Oh, that's
People that are successful, they're like, oh, you did your first show. Congrats. What's it about? You start talking about how much you sucked at it and you were doing it. Like, they don't care. They don't care. Anyone that's doing well, like, they don't care that you're out there, you know, doing it. And it's all windy outside and no one can hear what you say. There's a guy, Russell Brunson, that runs ClickFunnels. He did a show, a marketing show. He got in his car. It's a 20-minute drive to work. He like recorded it on his phone, right? Just driving to work, talking to himself. And when he got to work, he hit publish. He didn't edit anything. That thing's got millions of downloads. It does not matter. But if you've got a mission, if you've got a vision, if you've got something in your heart that you got to share and you're not doing it, you're doing a disservice to all the people out there that need to hear that message by you not putting it out there.
It's like the, was it Jefferson Fisher? He's the author of The Next Conversation. Just recently came out, and his whole thing was being on an iPhone. That's how it started. He's an attorney. He's talking on an iPhone in his car, just talking about arguments, like case law and stuff like that, just giving out, not advice, but talking about the stuff. And it just blew up from there, because he was talking about what people wanted, right? It wasn't that it was video, it was the context of it. You know, people want to hear about this stuff, case law. You know, anytime I post a video of like Supreme Court rulings in favor of veterans, that thing, it blows up. People want to watch that stuff. You know, they're not there for me. They're there for the information and how it's delivered. Right. So it makes sense. You know, I thought about, you know, just going audio only, but I'm like, well, I mean, you can always strip the audio and then use the video and the audio for this one for Spotify, this one for YouTube. So yeah, definitely a good book though.
I did want to mention, for people that are doing video primary, you have to, and you're posting it also as a podcast, you have to explain some of the things that you're talking about. Like, if you're like, hey, bring this thing up on screen, and then you don't describe it with your voice, anyone listening to the audio only is going to have no idea what the heck that you're talking about.
Right.
I had a guy that reached out to me. He's like, hey, I've not really had a lot of input. Certainly no experts have looked at my show. Can you check out my show? And I was like, sure. So I listened to his podcast while I was driving down to Dallas. It's only like a 3-hour drive. And his first 8 minutes of the show are all these different video intros and ads that do nothing for the audio listener. I had no idea what was happening. There was, you know, periods of like 40 seconds with no audio. And I was like, is this show still going? Like, I would look at my phone, like the clock is still moving. And I was like, hey man, listen to your show on audio once as you're reading through my comments about this, so you can understand what I'm talking about. It doesn't translate 100%. You have to explain what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So after you've been doing this for a while and now you're working with Parade Deck, like, have you seen in your experience in Parade Deck and working with them and trying to get the broader veteran community together? Because I know you were doing like the Veteran Podcast Awards and stuff before that, and it just kind of merged. Is there any trends or any kind of things that you're seeing with people who are starting out to get into podcasting or starting out to get into media production or anything like that, where Parade Deck is kind of like anything that you're doing, like you'd mentioned the kind of sit down and the huddle with folks, but anything like that, the Parade Deck is doing beyond what you're doing right now currently to help foster those that are trying to get into media production, content creation, podcasting, etc.
Yeah. So my hire was the big push to help podcasters and content creators do it better. Some of the things that they have going for them is they have an Apple TV channel. They have Parade Deck TV that you can download on Apple devices, soon to be all devices, right? It's not on Android quite yet, but you can go on there and it's like a Netflix interface. You can swipe through different categories and watch the different videos of the show. We're working on getting audio integrated to the app. And what it's going to look like here in the future is basically log on. You're going to have 4 buttons. You're going to have the content, right? Video or audio. You're going to have the creators. You can go directly to their profile. You've got events that people are doing. Some people are doing an event for every single episode that they have. And then we're going to have a community. Currently, the community lives on Mighty Networks. We've got one half for the creators, and we've got one half for people that are out looking to be guests on shows. So there's a couple tools that exist currently today where people can go learn a little bit, get a tip or two. Eventually, we'll have the mastermind that you mentioned where we sit down and we talk about some of this stuff. Like, I've not done personally any of the back end work. I've had a team since day one. I've got my team that does my client stuff, but there are people on there that have done all sorts of amazing things and learned how to use DaVinci, learned how to input videos. My buddy Matt Moore that does Mount Hermeneutics, which is a Bible argument podcast, and they try to keep it light because, arguing about some Bible stuff really can get pretty serious, right? So
oh yeah, I can imagine.
So it's like he's like, I'm a man, and I don't know if you remember the clip. There's an OSU coach that said, "I'm a man, I'm 40, come after me." Well, he learned how to splice that little video clip in. So anytime they say I'm a man on the show, like, they'll splice that in. So if you're watching it on the audio on video, or you're listening on audio, like, you're going to see that little clip pop up, just so right. Even though that they're diving in, it's like 3 guys really diving into the Bible, and it gets pretty serious. They want you to know that it's not that serious. That they're not having problems. They kind of call themselves the JV that argue about Bible stuff, but they have a good time doing it. But someone out there that's doing all their own work, they're going to need to know from someone else in the community, like, how do I do this stuff on video? Like, I don't know how to do this. I can throw a video in Canva and drag the ends, to create my clip. My team uses much more sophisticated things. There's things like Opus Clip out there that exist. Yep. But the thing that kills me as a guy that loves veterans and loves podcasting as a platform is that people are just simply not taking the time to learn anything about podcasting. They're creating a video every week, and they're doing YouTube only, and they're not posting video clips. Like, video clips right now, YouTube
you mean like shorts?
Shorts. They're not trying to take their YouTube is trying to take down TikTok. So all of their algorithm is geared towards the YouTube shorts right now. So if you're on YouTube and you're not posting shorts, you are doing yourself a disservice, right? Mm-hmm. How many, Joe Rogan does these 3-hour marathon shows. How many people actually listen to his full episode? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe John. Maybe John self-identifying as listening to the whole thing.
I've listened to like pieces of it. Yeah. I can't. Yeah. Pieces of it. Right.
The vast majority of everyone is going through short form content right now. And his clips are in tens of millions of views, if not hundreds of millions of views on these little clips. But you're not getting anywhere of those numbers on the full video or the full podcast episode. Me and all of my clients, we take a clip, right? A little audio clip, and we post it as a podcast episode, just like movies do. They have preview trailers. So if your episode's coming out on a Thursday, we post a little clip on Tuesday that has the best 1 to 3 minutes of every episode. And now those download numbers for that clip count towards your overall podcast download numbers.
So doesn't the shorts, like the YouTube shorts, doesn't that kind of kill the analytics or whatever? It's like if you're trying to promote your full length videos and you're adding too many shorts on there, won't that like offset
every short should post to your big, hey, check out the full video at this link.
Link
right?
There is
so
a link for that.
So what we do for ours is we create 7 clips for every full episode. So you now have something to post 7 days a week. And with things like YouTube Scheduler, repurpose.io, all the other schedulers out there that exist, you can then post something every single day. I mean, I use a scheduler for my text messages. Like I've got one that I send to my mom every day at 9 a.m. You think I'm up at 9 a.m. every day sending my mom a text? No. When she responds to my text, right, I go ahead and I set up the next one for the next day to make sure that she's getting a 9 a.m. good morning text from her favorite son, right? I'm not waking up at 9 and making sure I'm texting my mom, but I'm making sure
those days are done.
Those days are done. Those days
That's
are over.
it.
But I'm making sure that the intent of what I want to do is that I have this stuff scheduled to go out. So I'm posting something every day. I'm setting it up so my clients are posting something every day. They're keeping that rhythm going, that every day at this time, something is going to come out.
I'm curious about AI and podcasting. Have you seen anything? I mean, have you seen people using AI in the podcast sphere, and how are they using it? How successful do you think it's going to be?
Absolutely. So the current biggest thing for AI is Opus clips. It's where you upload your video there, you hit a button, it pumps out these viral clips. It's not perfect, right? It's still AI. You might have to go adjust a little bit of something in there. But that is currently the most successful things. If you're not sure what Opus clips is, you've seen it online where you've got this video of 2 people talking, they're stacked vertically and they've got the green text. They're using Opus clips to get that thing done. There's things out there right now that'll generate a whole episode for you if you put in a prompt, and you can go and have your voice dubbed to where you're reading your voice, you read X amount of words in, and it'll take it and take the words and create a podcast with your voice. There's ways you can do it now where it's going to take your image and you're going to record your image in a couple of different poses, full on, 1/4, 1/2 in the room that you're in. And it's going to check your movements and it's going to podcast with you doing it just like that. There's other, I can't remember what this thing is, but it will actually, from the written word, you can plug it into, oh man, I wish I could remember what it is right now.
Is it Notebook LM?
Notebook LM. They'll take the words written for you and turn it into a podcast. You can use your voice. You can use the robot voice of whatever you want. There's people that are using this. Now, I don't know how successful they are in using this, right? I don't know if they're having millions and billions of downloads. I couldn't tell you that right now, but I know there's tools that exist that people are using. And the most popular, most famous one right now is Opus Clips.
So I know we used Notebook LM for I think it was a CFR. We were explaining something about the CFR.
Yep.
And John uploaded it, and I went and listened to our latest episode.
Like,
and I'm like, who the hell did we get freaking hacked? Who are these people talking on our podcast, dude? And he's like, explains it to me. He's like, dude, it's Notebook LM. You just put whatever the transcription in there. People they'll talk about it in a podcast format. And I even saw that you can have like a third party come in and they'll talk to you. Like that's like I think a new feature. I went on there. It wouldn't work for me, but maybe I don't know, my connection was slow or something. But it looks like you can actually get in there and talk with these AIs and like do like voice back and forth with them. A little creepy. But
it is a little creepy.
cool.
Right now, there's a couple of companies I know using AI to interview potential employees for like job interviews.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Nice.
Right. So you can potentially do an interview show using AI that you've programmed, and you never have to be on camera. You never have to have your voice recorded. You never have to do any of this. So if you're shy about getting started, you can start without actually being on camera or recording yourself. There's ways to do this. I don't know if I can recommend that.
Now, is that smart, or is that being lazy?
But depends, right? There's programs out there like syllabi.io that you make a faceless YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right. And right now, if you put a bunch of words on a picture, right, you put a little music to it, and you have the video run at like 3/4 of a second. Well, you're going to get 5 plays just for them reading through all the text to get through that thing. You're going to get the views. So if you're looking to monetize sooner than most on something like YouTube, there's people that are using faceless type video to get there. I don't know if I'm a fan of that, because I'm a huge fan of the connection.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking too, is there's going to be a time where people are going to yearn for actual human interaction, actual human connection.
Yeah.
Like you have the AI talks, you have the AI podcasts. I mean, I just told John, I just found out that Arnold Schwarzenegger's Pumping podcast is all AI. I'm like, how does this old dude have the energy to put out all these episodes, you know?
He doesn't.
That's the thing,
right.
You know? And, it made me shed a tear a little bit, but it's okay, because he's utilizing technology. But people are going to yearn for that human interaction, just like AI art. People are going to want something that's handmade, by a human being. And I think it's going to hit a limit at some point.
Well, we've already seen this with COVID, right? When COVID kicked off, yearning for that human interaction, that human touch, that human connection, was huge on people's lists. And now that we had AI come out, and I'm a fan of AI for a lot of different reasons, but losing that human touch, that human connection, is something that I don't know if AI is going to be able to do. There's already like AI dating apps and AI girlfriends and boyfriends online that exist, and there's going to be a market for that. I don't know how big that market is going to be, right? There's space in this world for just about everything, right? But that human connection, I think, is gonna be the thing that continues to carry on with something especially like podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're doing, it depends on what you're doing. Like we had, what was his name? We just had him on a couple of weeks ago, but we were talking about podcasting and Kyle, exactly. And we were talking about podcasting and stuff like that, and potentially doing a sports kind of baseball thing. And that's another one of those things where you could literally like put up the clips of the things you're trying to talk about, and put in the text that you want to write, and then have it be a faceless I mean, there's tons of faceless podcasts out there right now. The difference, I guess, would be is there are some human ones, and then there's some AI created ones, right? And the AI created ones up to this point have been kind of less than mediocre. You can tell at some point that it's just a robot talking. But I feel like even that episode that we put out, the 38 CFR episode, I mean, it's got 200 downloads just for that episode, right? And it's 23 minutes of AI talk back and forth. And it was really just a test to see like how it can do. I gave it a bunch of input and information. Like, this is what I want you to talk about. Here's a couple of documents. Here's the link to the CFR. Here's the link to all these things that you need to be able to understand to talk about this intelligently. Here's what I want you to discuss. Go. So, and it sounded really, really real. So I think depending on when we get to that point where you can't really distinguish between the human and the AI agent is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. But you're right. There's plenty of room for everything in this world, especially in media and content creation. There's tons of different avenues and ways you can go about it, and really you just have to test it. If it's good enough content for people to absorb, then that's the determining factor, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to find out in like the legal implications between AI and deep fakes and ways that you can reproduce yourself. Like, at what point is this going to be used for nefarious means?
Oh yeah, I can already foresee that. You can duplicate your face saying something. I mean, they already have the ones where they call you, right? Where these folks call you using somebody else's voice. I've seen a lot of those online. Yeah, it's the law is always changing, and this is something completely different that I can, side quest all day with law and legal changes and stuff, because I research this stuff all the time. I love it, but it's a constant thing. It's always changing, right? So they're going to have to put these laws into place. It's a little tougher because it's going to be, on the internet. And that's a whole different legal realm there.
How do you prove it's not you?
Yeah, exactly. So
how do you prove a negative?
I had put up it was something they were selling on online. It was like an extra finger that you put on.
Yes.
On your finger. Yeah. So to prove, like, if you get caught stealing something, it's like, hey, look, it was an AI picture or whatever, because I have this sixth finger on my left hand. So it's AI, not trying to give any
drive through toll roads, right? And they're all pictures now. And you just put the ring finger on and you drive and be like, oh, that wasn't me. Like, that's nonsense.
Just stick your hand out.
There's always going to be people that try to do that stuff.
Yeah, that only works in The Princess Bride, the six-fingered man. So and looking, you mentioned that there's like millions of podcasts now, and probably just as many YouTube channels.
There's a billion. There's more than a billion YouTube channels. So 5.3 million is nowhere near a billion.
Tons. So, I mean, what is your thought on the space, both podcasts, YouTube, being saturated, maybe too saturated?
I don't think they're saturated at all, right? Like, how many military retirement podcasts are there? Like on Parade Deck, there's something on like 1,500 shows, right? There's a few people out there that haven't realized, the Parade Deck exists and a place to go find military stuff is. But you guys have your style, right? And you're speaking to a certain group of people, and there's people that are listening that'll check in for you guys and be like, this isn't the show for me.
Right.
And they're going to go out and be able to find someone that is the show for them. Right. So people talk about, we get into things like business and podcasting, and they're like, how are you keeping this competitive? I was like, I don't compete with anybody. And they're like, well, isn't that a little arrogant? I was like, no, I'm not in competition with these people, because people are going to identify with me with everything that I do. And there's a whole group of people out there that hate everything I do, and they're going to go find somebody else. And I've got no problem with that. Hey, you don't like me? Cool. What are you into? Let me recommend a friend of mine that might be your cup of tea. I'm not competing with anybody. I am who I am. And if I am 100% unapologetically me, the people that resonate with me are going to find me. It's when you are out there trying to do something and you're not being yourself that there's competition, because you're trying to be like somebody else. Oh, I saw this thing on Joe Rogan or John Lee Dumas or Jocko Willink or, any of these people. And they're like, I want to be like them. I was like, you can try to be like them. You can maybe use a tactic that they use. Like I talked about doing 7 video clips. You might do that and find out it does not work for the audience that you have. Or you might find out that you alienate the 30 people that listen to your show, but you might gain 700, right? You're not not being yourself. You're just using different types of media to showcase the things that you're doing, but you're not ever really in competition. Right now, if I'm a company out there and I don't know, I'm Walmart and I'm trying to do a podcast, which I don't know what the heck Walmart would talk about, right?
All their products.
probably something on the corporate end that are talking about building business and not really about, serving people, I'm sure. But who are they going to compete with if they start their own podcast? Walmart?
I don't know.
Target?
Like,
who are they competing against, right? Target popped onto the scene. You see this in business all the time. They had the Sears tried to compete and come out with their softer side of Sears, right? Target came out with fashion, more updated fashion, and that's why they were able to compete in the space. You're only going to be able to compete, if you want to call it competition, is if you come out and do something different, if you come out and be yourself. I talked about in the beginning that I wanted to serve nonprofits and help them do it better. And I surveyed what was out there in the top 25, and I didn't find the value that I wanted. And because it bothered me, I created a show to fill that gap, and it hit number 4 in the US within 3 months of launching. It's not that I wasn't me, I was me, but I wanted to make sure that the show that I did had the impact that it meant to. I ended up selling that show over a year ago to somebody. I hadn't recorded it in a couple of years now. I got to where I thought I really had all the conversations that I had meant to have. And I still get, the show still gets something like 4,000 downloads a month. And I haven't even recorded an episode in like 3 years now. Right? Like, I still get all those people. I still get requests every week to buy. I still have my PayPal goes off and says, you sold a product that was only designed and only created for the nonprofit space. I still get requests to do coaching that I still know how to do. I sold a product that I had created for $500 2 weeks ago now. Someone's like, how do I start a thing? It's like, fun fact, I have this product. But all of those shows that were created still have my face on them. All those shows still point to me. It's something called passive influence. Whatever you create, whenever you create it, someone can go back in time. You guys have been podcasting for a couple of years. You find or interact with people that go back and they reach out to you and they just saw your first episode and they're all excited about it. Like, that stuff still happens, right? You have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. No one has a problem with you being new, right? Starting with your phone, right? Holding up your phone, having somehow earphones used to have cords attached to them, like back in the early 21st century, right? You still had to have corded stuff, and you're recording, right? You're showing up however you can show up, but show up as you, and you'll find that you won't have any real competition.
Yeah. So finding your unique voice, and people will resonate. The right people will resonate with that. So anybody out there listening, I mean, Navy cop, I know you mentioned it, having some kind of anxiety starting it off. People want to hear authenticity and your unique voice. Somebody will resonate with that. Great. Yeah. Awesome feedback on that. So Travis, I know you mentioned, steps for podcasting. It was like the format, different styles, just consistency, doing like weekly uploads, because people want to be on that schedule, right? And what else do you think is a good recipe for a solid podcast?
You have to be true to what you say. So there's 3 things that are searchable for a podcast currently: your show name, like the Military Retirement Podcast, your episode name, whatever we're going to title this thing, right? And then the description for your show, not your show notes. Those are not searchable on Google, right? So you want to have in your description, you're going to tell them what the show's going to be about. Who is this show for? Who is this show not for? How often am I going to publish episodes? In there, you're telling the audience what to expect. And then you have to then do those things, right? So if I come out and I say, I'm going to do a weekly show, and it's going to be for the nonprofit audience, and all of my guests are going to teach something, would it make sense for me to do a show with Donald Trump? Maybe, but is he going to teach how to do nonprofit stuff? Is he going to teach on a topic that's going to teach my audience something? If he doesn't do that, me as a host, I'm obligated to not post that episode because I'm not meeting the mandate that I set with my audience, right? They might find a way to provide some value, right? But I'm not Joe Rogan, right? His description says the official Joe Rogan podcast, right? Mm-hmm. That gives him license to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. But he already had the Rolodex. The Rolodex, for you people out listening, is something back in the 1900s that you would flip, and it had a card with people's contact information on it. BC, before COVID. But he already had the network of people to host whatever kind of show he wants. He was already in Hollywood. He was in the UFC. He was a stand-up comedian. Like, he already had context to do whatever he wanted. But people out there are trying to make an impact. Ray, you guys are talking about retirement stuff. You're not going to have somebody come on and all they talk about is, I don't know, sleep behavior, sleep hygiene, right? That might be a small part of the interview, but the rest of the interview is dedicated towards, military retirement.
That's right.
Right. If you're not going to have guests on that don't deliver that value. So I'm going to show up. If I say I'm going to do a weekly show, I've got to do a weekly show. If you're going to do a weekly show, you're going to have a couple of these pre-recorded to pump out in case you can't make it. Right. When Trump killed the Iranian general Soleimani, I didn't have enough episodes in the can or pre-recorded to pump out every week. I had a bunch of people that I had to cancel interviews with because I was now working 100 hours a week, right? I got into a place where I couldn't post due to the nature of the demand of my life. Some people might find that they can't post because the guest doesn't show up or they want to take a vacation, right? If I'm saying that I'm going to do a weekly show, I have to be prepared to deliver a weekly show regardless of what's going on in my life. When all of that stuff happened with me getting out of the Navy, my wife having brain surgery, my daughter getting married, grandma dying, traveling to Minnesota, and not having a job, I had enough episodes pre-recorded and scheduled to go out that even though my life was in complete chaos, I was still delivering the value that I promised to my audience each and every week.
Yeah, because if you miss an episode, you may not get that audience member back, is what I gather. Right? They're going to move on to
they don't trust you. They don't trust you anymore.
Yeah. So
you're not doing what you said you were going to do. Yeah. I don't no longer have full faith and confidence in that coach. Right. Yeah. John said he was going to be here every week. He wasn't there. Now I don't like John. Like I broke one of my personal rules is I don't do a scheduled podcast anything on the weekends. I broke one of my rules to show up here with you guys because I believed that you were going to be here. If I would have got here to the show, right. And we did have a snafu with the link, right? And the link that was in the invitation was not the link, right? It's something that it was easy to buff out, and the communication was good, and I got on the right channel pretty easily. We weren't late or anything like that. But if I would have showed up and you guys weren't here, right? What would that have done to the relationship? This is a very early in our relationship. Like, I think we've chatted a couple times on instant messaging, but we've not actually chatted, right?
What
would that have done to our relationship?
Oh yeah, shattered it completely. I mean, there's been times where I got
the podcast award.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys would have got the most votes, and I would have looked at it and be like, not today, John. This isn't happening.
Didn't show up. Nah. Yeah, but so I mean, that makes sense, right? Because there's been times I've been asked to be on other podcasts, and I click on the link, and there's nobody there, and I'm like, I'm kind of waiting. I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's late. I don't know. Maybe he's setting something up. 5-10 minutes goes by. Then I shoot an email out. Hey, dude, I showed up. What's going on? Oh, yeah. Let's get rescheduled for next week. And I really don't want to because of that thing, right? You just mentioned it. It's like, I'm on the back burner. I'm not a priority in their life because, not that I should be a priority in life, but when it comes to the show, that should be a priority. And obviously, I'm a second thought at that point. Their guest is a second thought. So it does make sense. The trust and confidence. You definitely want to deliver that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So let's actually talk about. Sorry. We were on point 2-3.
No, go ahead, John. We go ahead. We can get right into it after. No worries.
All good. No, I did want to give you the time because I know we're hitting we're well over an hour, and depending on how long you want to sit here with us today on your day off, I definitely want to give you the time and space to talk about the podcast awards and to talk a little bit more about Parade Deck for what people should generally need to know about it. And for those out there in the audience who are transitioning out, getting out of the military, if you're not getting into podcasting, if you're not getting into content creation, why they would even go to Parade Deck or check it out. I know the reason, because there's a ton of great stuff and it's all kind of collated there in that area. But just to give people out there in the audience who are listening or watching some information about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go out in whatever industry that you're in, right, Parade Deck has something for you. It's not just people talking about the military space. It's veterans talking about whatever topic they're talking about. There's veterans that talk about business, that talk about health and exercise, that talk about faith and religion, that talk about all sorts of topics, not just veteran specific, not just military retirement, not just PTSD and mental health, not just what the VA does, right? They're talking about every topic imaginable. But you can't go to Spotify and find those trusted military creators. You have to already know who they are, or you just happen to stumble into them. You know, one of the 5.2 million podcasters out there, you hope is a veteran. It's one of those things that there's not necessarily that trust there just because they are a veteran, but you have that shared experience, that shared background, that you understand where they're coming from because they are a veteran. You have that point of commonality that you do and grow from. You can come out and see us at live events. We've got events this year. Yeah, there we go. ParadeDeck.com. We've got some events this year. You can actually meet us in person. And we've got our speaking slots filled for this year, but you can come see us at the VFW National Convention, August 9th through the 13th in Columbus, Ohio. You can see us in person at Military Influencer Conference in September, the 21st to 24th in Atlanta, and at MCon in Vegas, October 23rd to 26th. And you can come see us in person. Meet our friends that are going to speak on stage. A lot of them are going to be podcasters. They're going to be talking about podcasting things. There's people that actually will do a video recorded podcast. This stuff will be streamed on Parade Deck and on LinkedIn and places like that. And then we also do live streaming for other events. Like we're going to live stream the Veteran Social Summit in September. We live streamed the Military Veteran Entertainment Awards, if you saw that on LinkedIn. And then we did something special for the Army's 250th anniversary or 250th birthday, however you want to say it. It's been 250 years since the Army showed up and started kicking ass. And then the Navy showed up, right? So
essentially,
that's it.
Yeah. So you can go on there and you can find all these things. What's going to be coming down the pike in the future is we're actually have that online community that's going to be on Mighty Networks currently, which will eventually be on our dedicated app, where you can continue the conversation, these great conversations we have at conferences and conventions, and actually stay connected, right? There's not a whole lot of ways to do that. There's a couple groups out there exist, but if you go to these conferences, you've got about 2.5 weeks before all that like feel good feelings from the conferences happen and everything kind of settle down. You go back to your regular routine, where we're going to try to keep people engaged through the app throughout the year, especially if you're a podcaster, because I know that I'm running that show where you can continue to stay engaged, continue to get tips on how to do podcasting better. You can talk to other trusted creators in your space and learn how to do something like, how do I add this video of I'm a man, I'm 40? How do I add that into my video and get that stuff published? So when you do that, and keep in mind that we're still a pretty young company, there's things that we struggle with. I see a question about ID.me in here. We started partnering with ID.me so that every single person that's a creator on Parade Deck is going to be verified, have their military ID. When you go to Spotify, you don't know if they're real people. You don't know if it's AI. You don't know if I say I'm military. You don't know if they are. We're using ID.me, so every single content creator on Parade Deck, is verified. It's gonna cause some problems. Let's see what Navy Cop says. Having issue with this ID.me, but I'll jump on. You can log in with a Parade Deck login, and then ID.me will pop up, and it can be a separate email that you've registered through ID.me from years ago. It doesn't have to be the same login. You're gonna find that space that everyone is trusted. All the subscribers that are on there are going to be verified through ID.me. It's not going to be, I've got all these bots. I paid for a service to help me get more downloads, and it's just a bot farm where someone's got 400 iPhones and they're getting you all these listens and downloads through nefarious means. They're not real. Every single listener is going to be verified through ID.me. Does that create a little bit of hassle and a little bit of obstacle with getting started? It does. But once you're logged in, once you're verified, that's it. You do your normal login and you've got access to all the stuff.
And when's that going to be put in place?
That is in place currently. So
okay.
I've had a lot of behind the scenes, like, hey Travis, I'm trying to register for the Veteran Podcast Awards. Like, how do I do this? We've created a video out there walking you through exactly how to do it. I've got a lot of phone calls and a lot of hop on a video chat with me and can you walk me through this? Absolutely. As far as for creators that go on the back end, we've got a partnership with Boomcaster, which is a lot like Streamyard, but actually it's cheaper than Streamyard if you go through Parade Deck. The monthly fee for the pro account is something like $50 a month, which is cheaper than using Streamyard. It's got all the same features. You can put little tickers, you get the background stuff, just like Streamyard does. One of the really cool things is it does the video channel, the audio channel, and the full transcript with you in one shot. So when you're editing your video content, you can just go in the text of the transcript and you said, if you delete in the text, it removes it from the video and from the audio. So you don't have to go back, right? This is AI. You don't have to go back and physically remove that part from the audio or from the video clip. It does it for you, which I think is really cool.
So if you're a Parade Deck member, you get what, like a coupon code or something for this?
No, it's just at the cheaper price. We worked it all on the back end.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, it's all done on the back end. There's no code that you need. You just have to pay for the pro account. There's free accounts on there where you can create a creator profile. Like if you're going to sign up for the Veteran Podcast Awards at paradedeck.com, there is a free account available for you. You got to create an account, put in your podcast information. There's a little button that you have to click that says, I allow my stuff to be used for Parade Deck for the Veteran Podcast Awards, right? You got to be able to click that. We're not just going in there and finding podcasters and say, yeah, you're in the awards now. We're not doing that. We're making you click that step that says you agree to the terms, which we can use your stuff to promote our stuff, right? It's not it's not anything crazy, but that's live right now. You can still register to be part of the Veteran Podcast Awards. It's free to register through July 17th. And then I think it's that next week that we're going to allow voting. Now you don't have to be a creator. You can be just a subscriber, right? You can go through a different verification process, but all of our votes, you can go in there and vote for up to 3 shows in whichever category in. We have categories listed for, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, etc. Right. But then we also have like advocacy and nonprofit, faith and religion, business and entrepreneurship. So when you enter yourself in, you're going to be up to 2 categories plus however you served. Right. So you might not have won your show for, the best nonprofit show, but you might still be in the running for the best Army podcast out there. Does that make sense?
Right on. It does. It does.
And then, of course, the biggest vote getter is going to be the Veteran Podcast of the Year. This year, it's going to be hosting. This is our 4th year. So we did I did one solo, year 1 solo and year 2 solo on the show. Year 3, we tried to do it last year. It was kind of a false start. Anyone that registered last year, our deepest and sincerest apologies. It was the first year with Parade Deck, and we couldn't get our act together. We fumbled the whole stinking deal. I wasn't on board yet. So I don't feel too bad about it personally, but Parade Deck as an organization feels bad that we didn't make it happen. So this is the 3rd year. We'll actually be offering the awards, the fourth year attempt. This is what it looks like in years past. The beautiful plaque on the wall. The first year was I got a golden hammer over here like Thor for the first year of the awards. But I'm going to be co-hosting this year with Joshua White, who was our year 2 Air Force Podcast of the Year, and he was the overall winner of the Veteran Podcast of the Year. He's going to be co-hosting with me. He's a great guy. I love the heck out of Josh White. He even created a promo video for this weekend, which I'm excited to post on all those social medias. Hope I can get a share from you, John and Vic. Get that promoted out there. I know you're like, you don't want to share this stuff and get more competition. But if you were listening to the show earlier, we're not really competing with anybody, are we?
We're all about sharing the love, man. We're all about sharing the love. That's it.
Speaking of competing real quick, are you guys also looking at the login.gov as an alternative? Because I'm just saying that because if you've used the id.me, which I personally use, that's one way that you can get onto the VA website now and get to your VA records and all that stuff. They also have an alternative, login.gov. I don't know if that's something that you're interested in.
I know DS
those
login
two
is
for
a
sure.
thing. I know DS login is a thing. I've not heard
DS
of
login is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
On the VA website, they do too. They do the id.me and then they do login.gov as the alternate version of that. And since it's veterans being able to access the VA through those two means, I didn't know if that was something that you maybe wanted to check out and see if that's an alternative.
It's something I'm going to look into now. I didn't.
DS login was going away on the VA side.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is, but I know for sure they were pushing a couple months ago. We had mentioned it that they were going to phase out the logging in with the login and password, and they were only going to do the login.gov or the id.me. So, and they've pretty much got to that point, I think.
That's a good question. That I don't know. I'll have to talk with our founder, Andrew Appleton, to see if he's looking at these other alternatives.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. It was great to have you on, Travis. I mean, is there any other like final pieces of advice or info for anybody out there looking to start a podcast and get their foot in the game?
Yeah, you don't have to know anything to get started. You got to have a way to record. You have to have a hosting platform, something like Podetize, Buzzsprout, Spotify for creators. You got to have a place to put it online. And then you've got to do the work to get it syndicated. So many people I know, they're only on like 5 to 10 platforms. There is 40 platforms out there. So if you're trying to build a website, like, I don't know, do you guys have a website?
We do. Yep. MilitaryRetirementPodcast.com.
And you guys are posting all your episodes as a blog post on that website?
Not at the moment.
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Would it be a good idea?
It is, right? Because right now, if you've got 1 million downloads, do you know who those people are? Can you contact them? Can you sell them anything? Right? If you can't, you've got to have them either in a group or you've got to have their email, right? So like me and all of my clients, everyone has a blog post where they post every episode. They have the embedded video, the embedded audio, the show notes, any guest information, and then the full transcript, right? You've got that multimedia post. And fun fact, Google owns YouTube. And do you think that they rank your website higher because you're using their stuff?
YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world.
Number 2 search engine in the world, right? But you don't benefit personally if someone goes to YouTube. You don't benefit personally if someone goes to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, right? They benefit. That company benefits. You only benefit when you can collect that traffic, when you can communicate with your fans, whether email as a group. I recommend both, but you've got to be able to collect that information. If you've got a big group, Smoke and Bacon a couple of years had a Facebook group of like 600,000 people. And Wade Saxton's a friend of mine. His group got shut down because someone reported it. Well, it's a bunch of veterans posting, a bunch of BS, a bunch of nonsense. And someone got in there and they had they just shut down his group of 600,000 people. He lost access to 600,000 people. He then since created his own app where he does his own shenanigans and doesn't have to worry about that. But if you're not collecting their email on something like a website where you're trading them a freebie, like, hey, this is a little media kit about our show. If you want to learn more about the show, give us your email and we'll send that to you. We're not going to email you out a whole bunch of stuff, but we're definitely going to remind you when new episodes drop. If you can't contact people, you can't sell them. You can't sell that audience. It makes it harder to get sponsors. And when you go out and connect to those 40 platforms that exist out there and you post a preview, right? And you post a full episode and you're attached to 40 things. When you publish once, it goes out to 40 platforms. Mm-hmm. So if you got in there, hey, check out more, connect with us on our website. And there's websites where you have a group feature as well. You can build your own community on a website. It doesn't have to be on Facebook. Right? And you're posting and everything that exists points back to that. Well, you're getting 80 backlinks to your website every week. That's like 4,160 backlinks that you're creating every year. And if you know anything, Google is built on backlinks. In the old days, it was keywords. Now it's backlinks. If you've got all these websites pointing back to you, you're going to be successful. I have got a common name. Travis Johnson is a pretty common name, right? And there was this advice like, oh yeah, get your website, travisjohnson.com. Do you know how many Travis Johnsons out there doing stuff? Like a bazillion. Everyone named Travis Johnson is freaking doing something. They've got their own business. They've got their own website. And people are like, oh, you use your middle name, right? Do you know anyone named Dwayne Johnson? Like, I can't use my middle name. It doesn't help me at all, right? But podcasting, if you were to search something like the Nonprofit Architect podcast, you will see that I'm the first 4 pages of Google. Still, I'm all the images, all the videos. That kind of branding, like, you shouldn't be paying for branding if you're not doing the minimum, which is starting your show on a platform and connecting it, syndicating it to the other 40 platforms that exist. You're just doing yourself a disservice if you haven't done that yet. And based on the looks I'm seeing on the screen right now, I'll be emailing you that list of 40 platforms to make sure your show is attached to them. But you don't have to do all of that stuff to get started. Record something, publish it on a hosting platform, and get started. It's really hard to steer a parked car, but if you get in and start moving, it's really easy to steer and change directions as you're going. It's really easy to go in there and change your artwork. Right? I don't know if the artwork John's got in the background was the first artwork he created. It might be. Is that your first artwork?
It's been different iterations of that. This is where we're currently
second or third version. Yeah.
Was it hard to update your podcast cover art?
No, it's hard to let go of the emotional attachment to your podcast cover art.
Right. Put something together, even if you do it on Canva, and throw it up there. Pay someone on Fiverr $5 to create you a better one. And when you decide you want to change it 3 years down the road, spend another $5 to have it updated, or use some kind of AI to generate an image. You can agonize over all these little details. Am I good enough? Do I know what I'm talking about? Fun fact, nobody does. But if you don't actually get started,
everybody's just winging it. They're just winging it.
Everybody's just out here winging it, right? The world is improv. Like, I haven't prepared all these comments that I'm going to make on the show today, right? I don't know what the heck I'm going to say. Heck, even the president doesn't know what he's going to do, right? So, not even I know what I'm going to do.
Stay tuned. No.
Everyone's out there winging it, but just do yourself a favor and get started. You can figure all the other stuff out later. You can reach out and you can ask me questions, and I'll just defer to the experts, John and Vic, to get that stuff rolling. But get started. The only 3 things you got to do for success is show up with a great attitude and do the work. Show up with a great attitude, do the work. Everything else is going to work itself out.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's step 1. Just start. Easy as that. So if you hate your voice, if you hate the way you look, don't care about it. Just do it.
Put a sticky note over your camera.
If you don't like that's it. Put a sticky note. I wish I had one here. No, but all great information, Travis, man. I really do appreciate it. A wealth of information. I got a whole page of notes here as we usually do, just taking notes on everything our guests say. Just all around steps for podcasting. You know, you engaged with the audience. That was awesome. Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Check out what we've got brewing at paradedeck.com.
Absolutely. And where can folks connect with you? Can I share your LinkedIn on here, or is there another
Absolutely.
way?
Absolutely. Okay. Share the LinkedIn link. Find me there. Send me a message. Tell me I sucked. Tell me I was great, but tell me something.
All right, Travis. Hey, great having you, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thanks. Well, man, that was a wealth of information, dude. Awesome. And anybody out there listening who is a veteran, who is looking to start a podcast, man, I strongly believe that every veteran, every active duty personnel, everybody's got a story to tell. Somebody's going to want to resonate with you. Somebody's going to want to listen to you. So definitely just get up there and start, man. Get yourself, you don't even need a microphone. This is just something I got like a year into podcasting. I started off with my cell phone and then like a cheap little microphone that I got off of Amazon for like $30, and it worked out just fine. If you listen to our earlier podcasts, that was like a $30 or $40 microphone. And now, then as you go along, as you start building an audience, as you start getting more comfortable in what you're doing, you start upgrading your stuff, your camera, your microphone, maybe getting a bigger screen, your software, things like that. But you don't really need much to start.
No. Yeah, you don't need any of this fancy crap. I mean, you can literally do it with your phone, and that's all you really need. I think we've actually recorded before a few times, just the phone, because like the laptop was broke or something like that, or we were traveling or whatever.
That's right.
All this nonsense.
I mean, and you got software too. Yeah, and you've got software too where if you need notes, right? Like a lot of times I'll be sitting here and I'll have my notes open on like maybe an outline of what I want to talk about. But they have the software now that can give you like a teleprompter on the screen, right, on your phone. So you just read off of there if you want to, or have your notes on the screen. Nobody knows that you're reading off them unless you're actually just following the words as they go down the screen, but nobody's really going to know.
That's right.
So I wanted to bring up.
I know what my. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I wanted to bring up the Supreme Court ruling real quick that I was looking for earlier, and I don't recall if I brought it up last week, but it is the combat-related special compensation, which is a huge win for veterans. There's a unanimous ruling by the Supreme Court. There was a Marine veteran, Simon Soto, who he basically sued the government saying that there's a 6-year limit on this combat-related special compensation. The Supreme Court ruled against that ruling because that fell under this completely different thing called the Barring Act, which put a 6-year limit on that combat-related special compensation. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So now there is no 6-year limit. Of course, you'll have to reapply, talk to a VSO. I would, not that I am advising anything, but if it were me, I would talk to a VSO before applying to see what the options are. I did get a comment when I put up a video on the Green Logbook saying that they just called the VA and they knew nothing about it. Well, that's mostly because everything in the government takes a long time, and it probably has to roll a little bit downhill to the VSOs, to the VA, right? So definitely give it about a week, give it about 2 weeks, and it's going to come up on people's radars within the VA. But we got the Supreme Court ruling right here on the screen. Okay, Soto versus the United States, and they ruled in favor of the veterans. So if you were denied combat-related special compensation because of that 6-year limit, just know that based on the Supreme Court ruling, there is no longer a 6-year limit. Reapply, get what you've earned.
Absolutely. Well, I know what my homework is for the next time is to dig into this software that we should be probably using instead of Streamyard, maybe Boomcaster. That's my homework.
Yeah, there's options out there, man. There's new stuff that's always popping up, dude. And I'm like, I don't know if I can keep up with this stuff, but it's always great to hear about new software, potentially lower cost or potentially something that can provide you more for your money. So it's always good to hear about that. Yeah. Aside from that, man,
blogging.
Go ahead. And what?
And then blogging. That's the other thing.
I used to have a blog back in the day, and like I just thought it was just like my random thoughts, and the dumbest comments I would get on there, man. I mean, there were comments, right? But they're like, what does this have to do with anything? I'm like, well, I don't know, man. It was just kind of like an online journal, whatever. But based on what Travis mentioned, yeah, we probably should have some kind of a blog. If anybody out there who's listening has any kind of suggestions, ideas of what you would like to see on the podcast, on the website, militaryretirementpodcast.com, or any topics you'd like to hear about on the YouTube channel podcast, please let us know. Shoot us a message, info@militaryretirementpodcast.com. We would love to connect with our audience, with our members, and just know what you're thinking, how we can make the show better for you.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I got, man. Really,
right.
really appreciate Travis coming on, hanging out with us. It's been really good. I think it's one of those episodes where I need to go back and watch it, not once, but twice or 3 times, to go back and check my notes and make sure that I got all the notes that I need to take. But really, like we've mentioned a few times in the podcast, like if you're trying to do something podcasting, you want to start your own business, you want to carve wooden bowls for a living and make them very, very unique and ornate, just start doing it and then figure out the other stuff, because you start without all of those preconceived notions of all the rules and all the ways that things have to be, and then you can honestly tell yourself you're not doing it the way that you've always done it, because you're going out there kind of blindly with enough information in your back pocket to get started. So get started, get moving. And until then, we will see you next time. Appreciate all your support and all your listening and watching.
Out here.